Hello everyone, I'm JG. Welcome back to Music Forever, where today I'm going to be talking about the new Overkill album, The Grinding Wheel. If you're familiar with thrash metal, you should be aware that over the past few years, all the big thrash bands have kind of been putting out albums, kind of showing what they got, I guess you could say, in this time period, which, of course, being many decades after they first kind of rose to prominence, that being in the 1980s, mostly the mid-80s, late 80s, and for some bands even the early 90s. So they've been contributing a lot of new albums over the past, I guess you could say really since 2015 with Slayer's album that they came out that year. Overkill are one of the last bands, in my opinion, of the big thrash bands that put out an album to kind of be compared amongst all these albums that have been released in the past few years. And how does it stand up to these? Overall, I'd have to say it stands up pretty well. Now, personally, as far as thrash metal bands go, Overkill are a bit of a peculiar case for me because as I do like them as a band, however, I cannot always find myself listening to them for one reason that many other people seem to share, and that being the vocals. And I don't want to necessarily say that the vocals are bad, but they are definitely, I guess you could say, you either love them or hate them. And if you're like me, you don't just love them or hate them, it just depends on your mood whether or not you love them or hate them. So I was kind of concerned going into this album if I was going to be even in the mood to listen to Overkill. But I was, fortunately, and I did happen to enjoy what I heard. Overall, The Grinding Wheel doesn't change too much up from what Overkill have been doing the past few years and pretty much their entire career. This band really they have changed their sound with time, however they haven't had so many drastic changes like other bands have that have really kind of put off fans at one point or another. This band has been pretty consistent with their sound and work, quality-wise, that I think is why so many people have stuck with Overkill through the years and why they're still continuing to put out quality material to this day. As I mentioned before, I wasn't sure if I was going to be into this album when I first heard it, but as soon as Mean Green Killing Machine, the first track, starts up, I knew I was going to be in for something good here. I especially love how the drums kind of just build up into the track here. It's probably my favorite song on the album. It goes through multiple phases, I guess you could say, with changes in the sound throughout the entire track. It is a longer track, over 7 minutes long, and I do like how they managed to make it interesting despite its 7-minute length with these different parts. Another track where I really like the introduction is The Long Road, which has this really nice guitar solo part that I just really found myself gravitating towards when listening to the album. Probably my second favorite track is the song Come Heavy, which is a bit of a slower, I've heard some people say it's doomier, but I don't really think it's quite doom metal. Of course, it does have some of those classic metal influences. It kind of reminds me of Children of the Grave by Black Sabbath in a sense, just kind of this slower paced song from them, which I really enjoyed, kind of breaking up the rest of the track listing, which is pretty much just straight thrash. This song does have thrash elements still in it. It is a nice kind of change within the track listing. Overall, the rest of this album's pros are kind of things that have been consistent throughout Overkill's work, as I mentioned before. You have the great guitar solos and guitar parts overall. You have nice bass parts, drums, and the vocals, as I said before, some people really like them, some people really don't like them. So if you're someone who has really liked them in the past, it's not going to be really any different here. Whereas if you're someone who doesn't like them, you're still not going to like them here. Now moving on to some of the cons of the album, I think one of the album's weak points, and it's not exactly a strong weak point, it's just that the album I think is a bit long in my opinion. It runs at about an hour in length, which is a bit on the longer side, I guess you could say, for metal albums that aren't exactly like progressive metal albums. And it does drag a bit at times. I know Overkill as a band overall, their albums tend to lean more towards the longer length than the shorter length, which isn't exactly something that I favor. However, on this album, there were times, especially in the middle of the track listing, where I found myself saying, is it almost over yet? Because I was just getting bored with it at times. The fact that the album is also similar to their last few releases doesn't exactly help that case. I mentioned that being a possible pro if you do enjoy their not exactly older, but more recent stuff. But yeah, if you're someone who didn't exactly like that stuff or has gotten tired of it, this album could also be repetitive in that kind of sense as well. And as far as the vocals go, most of the time it was pretty decent in my opinion on this album. I do enjoy the vocals at times, however there were some moments where I didn't really like them. Probably the only moment where it actually becomes a problem in my opinion is the track Shine On, where during the chorus it just kind of becomes a bit shrill in my opinion. It wasn't exactly something I was favoring, but you could look past it with all the other positives, like when the vocals are good, the guitar parts, the bass parts, the drum parts, which are all phenomenal on this album. Another track I wish to mention, kind of to close this out, would be the final track, the title, Grinding Wheel. I think it's a good song. It has a bit of a slower introduction to it, more clean style vocals. I just think it's an interesting change of pace to close out the album. Another kind of funny thing, I'm not exactly sure why, the track before the last track, which is just titled The Wheel, and then the last track is The Grinding Wheel. I don't know why, if there's like a connection between the two. I didn't really examine the lyrics too deeply on this album, but yeah, I don't really know. Also, on The Wheel, he's singing that he's the wheel. I don't exactly know what that means, but he's the wheel. I mean, there's a joke in there somewhere. So that was my opinion on the new Overkill album, The Grinding Wheel. What did you think of it? Leave it down in the comment section below. And I would also greatly appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because we have some more content coming up, more metal content, album reviews, song analysis, lists, all kinds of other cool stuff. So if you subscribe, you got some cool stuff coming your way. Thanks for watching, and stay golden.